Hello, everyone. Welcome to Football Past. And I'm pleased to say I've got the man of the moment, a very happy Livingston FC skipper, Marvin Bartley. Marvin, how are you?
I'm really well. Thanks. A little bit tired, as you can imagine. It was a sleepless night running back through the game and obviously all the excitements. But no, I'm well, thanks.
Good. Listen, congratulations in taking Livingston to their first domestic cup final since 2004. A game which is still very vivid in my own memory, but we can come back to that later on because I think it's important to stick to the here and now. And you guys are the ones who deserve all the plaudits. Let's talk about the semi-final against St Mirren. A 1-0 victory. Was it a game that went according to plan, or were you hoping to maybe have an easier way to see the game out? Because St Mirren gave you a few problems second half, didn't they?
Yeah. In terms of it going to plan, we won the game, so you could say yes in that sense. But to look into it more, we probably didn't play to the levels that we have been. I think there was an air of nervousness about us, leading up to the game as well. The weather's been really bad in Livingston, so finding somewhere to train has been really difficult for the club, and we've been training in the afternoons and whatever else. It's something I'll say now because we've won the game, but I wouldn't have said, if we'd have lost, because it looked like an excuse. But in terms of the game, no, listen, we did really well. Scott Robinson got the goal nice and early, and we showed a different side to us, and I said to the boys after the game, in the 11 games we've had, that's probably the first time we've had to really show grit and determination and defend the way we did, and to keep a clean sheet, because St Mirren threw absolutely everything at us. It was a proud moment to hear the final whistle.
Absolutely, and I'm sure from the Livingston fans' perspective, they'll be very excited at getting an opportunity to see their team back in a showpiece final once again. Let's talk about the semi-final and you mentioned the nerves of some of the players. I mean, you've played in a fair few big games in the course of your career, but looking in the lineup of the squad, probably quite a lot of guys who wouldn't have experienced a game as high pressure as that. Is it fair to say?
Yeah, I think it's definitely fair to say that, and I think the way I tried to deal with it throughout the week or leading up to the semi-final was to joke about it with the boys and say, "Oh, is this the biggest game of your career?" Surely it's not, in kind of like a jovial way, just to make, kind of light-hearted banter about it, because I was nervous as well, and I've played, like you said, in some big games during my career, and it doesn't make any difference, when you're going into a semi-final, and especially with the year or the last year we've had, it felt like there was a lot of pressure upon us to perform, and me personally, I felt that pressure as well, because as I said, I've played in a lot of big games, and I've lucky enough to win the Scottish Cup and play in a League Cup final, and I want the other boys to experience that. So I felt a lot of pressure leading into the game as well, but I couldn't show the boys that. I had to be the one that was kind of calm, cool, and collected. But really inside, I was nervous because I wanted to perform for them, and I wanted them to have the feeling of playing in the final.
And let's touch on the fact that Livingston now are arguably the form team in Scottish football, which changes the dynamic, doesn't it, a little bit? Because Livy always tend to like to, play the underdog card, and that, I think, helps a club like Livingston. But when you keep winning week in and week out, like the team is at the moment, I mean, I think most people were expecting Livingston to beat St Mirren, and that changes the dynamic a little bit, doesn't it?
It does, it puts a different pressure on you. As you said, when you're the underdog, you just go out there and perform. But when you're probably the favourites to win a game, and all of a sudden people are saying, Livingston should win this, then you need to go out there and perform. And again, we spoke about that before the game and said, let's just go out and give 100%. All we've done throughout this run is everybody's given 100%, and, it's taken us to 11 games unbeaten, 12 games now. So, that was all it was about. Go out there, perform to the best of our abilities, and see where it can take us. And luckily enough, it's taken us to a final. But, we will lose a game. It will come. But there's a right way to lose. We've always spoken about this. Given 100%, if a team beats us, we hold our hands up and say, "Do you know what? Fair play to you. You've beaten the best possible Livingston team." So, that's all that's in the back of our minds. Give 100% and see what happens with the result.
Have to touch on the manager, David Martindale. His record since he took over from Gary Holt is nothing short of extraordinary. And Davey really plays it down in the press and says that we haven't changed an awful lot. And I know it's a tricky one from your perspective because you got on very well with Gary Holt. But are there small nuances of differences in training? Is there anything different or tangible that you can touch on that has brought about this incredible run?
Yeah, I think, Davey's probably stripped it back for us as a team and got us back to basics. He wants us to do the simple things, and, you heard me talk about 100% there. That's came from him. He wants us to give 100% in every game, and, as long as we do that, he said we won't always perform well, but as long as we give it our all, he'll be happy with us. And he's probably given us some confidence as well, because he said to us, when he first came in, listen, this is a fantastic squad of players. I will add to it, but I believe in every single one of you. So when you've got the shirt and you're starting the game, just do your best to keep hold of the shirt. And all he wants from you is a performance. He wants you to be honest in training and give it your all. And as long as you do that for him, he's absolutely delighted with us. And like I said, it's 11 games unbeaten now. So, he's doing something right.
Oh, for sure. I think one of the things I've noticed watching Livingston over the past couple of seasons are the fitness levels, which I don't think there are any teams in the Scottish Premiership who could say they're any fitter than Livingston. I think most teams would probably struggle to reach the fitness levels that you guys have. Is that something that came about through Davy Martindale? Is it the fitness coach? Was it Gary Holt? Who was really keen to try and make sure that you guys could outrun anyone?
I think it was a mixture, really. I think it's a mixture of the staff together. Definitely is something that Davey does like to push ahead with. He says, if you give 100% in training, then you're going to be fit for matches. As individuals, we're not good enough to coast in training and then try and turn it on for matches. Very few players can actually do this. So if you come and watch one of our training sessions, it's just like a match. Everyone's flying about and going into tackles and whatever else, which is quite dangerous when you've got Effie Ambrose in your team. But, we train the way we play, and that's what he wants from us. So, I think the fitness side of it, especially in terms of match fitness, does come from him because, as I said, every training match is like a real match. And, it's showing in our performances now.
Whenever a team has a successful period, as Livingston are at the moment, inevitably other managers and coaches are going to have a very close look at what you're doing and why it's becoming such a success, and I guess trying to find a way of stopping you. And that means that you've got to continue developing as a side. One of the things I noticed when I saw you play Easter Road recently, when Livingston won 3-0 and were great value for that, I actually thought you played far more football than I've seen of the team, maybe last season and the year before. I thought it was a terrific footballing performance at Easter Road, and probably helped to a large extent because you had someone like Scott Robinson playing up front, who was absolutely terrific that day. And I think it encouraged the guys to play feet more than channels.
Yeah, we have to evolve, like you said. When you are winning games, and even last season, I know it was cut short, but we finished fifth in the table. So automatically, we're going to be showing more respect this season, and we didn't have the best of starts this season. But just taking the last 11 games, we have tried to play a little bit more football when it's on. But we still will play that. We will turn teams and we will go more direct, because as small as Scott Robinson is, he uses his body really well. If you look at the percentage of headers he probably wins, it will probably be quite low. But he never ever lets a defender have a free header, and that's the most important thing, because as a midfield we can then press on to the second ball, because we know it's not going to go firing back over our heads. And that's all we say to Robbo. Just get your body in the way, make it difficult for the centre halves, and we'll try and pick up the second balls. And playing in there with Scott Pittman and Craig Sibbald and Holty, it's been fantastic, because they're so energetic, and like you said, the fitness levels of these players are so high.
It's interesting, Marvin, because some of the parallels of the move that you had from Hibs to Livingston were quite similar to mine, in that I had been playing in a decent side at Hibs, a successful team, and the opportunity came for me to try something new, and a lot of people were surprised. And I got a lot of feedback from Hibs fans who said they were disappointed when I left. And I know from speaking to a lot of Hibs fans that they're really frustrated that you're not at the club now, because they kind of look at the Hibs team and think, you know what we need? We need Marvin Bartley, and he's away playing with another team. And I think they maybe realise how much they miss you now that you're not there. Do you have those conversations yourself with Hibs fans?
No, listen, I joke about it, but there's a part of the game yesterday when I went to clear the ball over my shoulder and it went the wrong way and I fell over, and I think maybe they looked and said, no, we don't need Marvin Bartley after seeing that. But no, listen, it was time for me to leave. I had a fantastic time at Hibs, and it's time for something new, and Livingston was the ideal club for me to come to. The move couldn't have gone any better, if I wished. So, yeah, there was an element of disappointment when I left Hibs because, everyone knows how I feel about the club and still feel about the club. But, as a professional now, I have to get on with what's going on at Livingston. And, I'm just delighted to be here and lucky enough, when I did come in, it was about finishing 10th in the league and we finished 5th. The aim was the same for this season and, we're 5th in the league at this moment in time. We're in a cup final. So, we just need to keep evolving as a club and, I'll play for as long as I possibly can and keep trying to help the younger players coming through.
And you must be excited at the prospect of being able to play in another cup final. You've obviously had experience of this with Hibs. You get to play in the other cup final. Must be very excited at the possibility of potentially being able to have a winner's medal in both domestic cups in Scotland.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in 2016, I nearly did that, but obviously we lost in the final to Ross County in the League Cup. So, I'm hoping that Lady Luck's on our side this time and we do get to win it because, I was thinking about this yesterday and I spoke to my brothers and I said, when I came up to Scotland and people were telling me it was the wrong move and potentially I could leave Scotland with winning the Championship, winning the Scottish Cup and winning the League Cup, and what an achievement that will be. I don't think there's many players outside, the two big Glasgow clubs, the players that will have both. I know Louis Stevenson has both of them at Hibs and, he gave me a message this morning saying, well done, I'm proud of you and good luck in the final. So, if I can emulate what he's done and get both, I'll be absolutely delighted.
And I know from having walked the corridors at Livingston Stadium, you must be desperate to try and make sure that you can win the trophy because you can't get away from pictures of the team that won it in 2004. I'm always struck when I walk around. The pictures everywhere, my ugly mug looking back at you around every corner. That's the one thing that you kind of notice, isn't it? Is that, unsurprisingly, it's the high point of the club's relatively short history is that cup win in 2004.
That definitely is the high point, and I want my picture next to you. I want to be lifting the cup like you did, and to place my ugly mug next to yours, and then it made me a lot happier. But no, listen, obviously what you guys did in 2004 was magical. And that's something we've drawn on this season. And I'm not just saying that because I'm speaking to you. It genuinely is. When we got to the quarter-final stage, we wanted to emulate what you guys did in 2004. So, if any tips that you have for me going into the final, then listen, I need to hear them and, I'll share them with the lads because, as I said, you lot did the unthinkable and that's what we're trying to do right now.
I mean, I'm not sure you need too many tips from me, Marvin, in terms of preparing for a big game because you're pretty relaxed, cool dude, which I think actually is massively helpful, for some of the guys that are lacking in experience. And we had a bit of a mixed dressing room back in 2004. But one of the things that I try to put across to the guys, and you'll understand this, with being an experienced player, is to play the game, not the occasion. You could allow the occasion to kind of overwhelm you and think about, how important it is. You only get one shot at a cup final and you don't want to mess it up. But players tend to produce the goods and their best football when they kind of separate the occasion and just treat it as another game. You played against St Johnstone twice this season, I believe, and won both games. So, that's a record that clearly you can take confidence from. But, the guys have had an opportunity to play in a semi-final, which is massive pressure, and come through it. So I don't really have any fears for your team. I mean, I think, the stars are aligned. You just have to kind of remind the guys that, the one thing about cup finals, and you'll know this, you never know if it's going to be your last one. And that counts for even the young guys. There's a few guys in your team and in your squad who are relatively young, who might kind of think that cup finals come along, every season. And people like you and I appreciate that they really don't. And I guess the one thing I would say if I was speaking to the guys would be, don't waste the opportunity.
Yeah. What about between the semi-final and the final? Was your mind firmly fixed on, playing in the final, or was it, thinking about the games that came in between and taking it one game at a time? Because I found between the quarter and the semis, I had that excitement about me, and as you said, I try and remain calm, but all I was thinking about was the semi-final. That was the only date that was in my head, and all the games that came between the quarters and the semis were just kind of hurdles in the way, and luckily we went over them all. But it's going to be even more difficult now, I think, trying to change my mindset to think, right, let's think of the next league game. And that's me as an experienced pro saying that, and that's just me being honest.
Yeah, I mean, I to be honest, I can't really remember how long the gap was. I think the gap was maybe a little bit bigger for us from the semi-final to the final than you've got, which I think will help you. The less games you've got between the semi and the final is a good thing. One of the other things that's definitely different, the dynamic, was that we had an extraordinary situation at Livingston back in that season where literally just days in the lead up to the semi-final, the club went into administration. And a lot of people will have forgotten about this situation, but we had a really, really tough few days build up in the lead up to the semi-final, which was against Dundee at Easter Road. And I think 7 of our players were effectively sacked overnight through no fault of their own, but the administrators were running the football club and the club, and they needed to cut the costs. So 7 of our teammates were effectively kind of told to get their boots and say their goodbyes, and that was that. And I will say this, I'm pretty certain that our dressing room was a very different one, and it would have been a different atmosphere when we won our semi compared to yours. You guys could celebrate properly. I'm not exaggerating when I say this. Ours was like a morgue. We managed to beat Dundee in extra time, and we came in and sat down, and there was no celebrating. There was just a lot of kind of reflection really on the players that we wished were still with us, who didn't get an opportunity to be involved in that game. And I know I'm kind of bringing the atmosphere down a little bit, but it's one of the things that sticks in my mind about the cup final was that was a time where I think because we didn't celebrate at all after the semi, I mean, literally not at all. It was just, well, we won, guys. We get to go to a cup final, but it was still very raw for us, having lost some of our teammates. And I said to the guys, there's a guilt attached to all of us because we kind of feel like we're the lucky ones who were allowed to stay at the club and weren't, effectively sacked. But I said, when we get to the final, we shouldn't feel embarrassed to celebrate if we're fortunate enough to win. And obviously, things went well for us. And we had a good preparation before the game, and I was extremely confident, as much as it was a bizarre situation for me. I think in some ways I'm quite glad for you that you're not playing against Hibs in the final, because I didn't enjoy it playing against my old club, and I don't think you would have done either. It would have been a really tough situation for you. So, I know it's hard for you to say this, but I think it's actually, for you personally, it's actually quite a big advantage that you're playing against Johnston rather than Hibs.
Yeah, no, I think I would agree with you there. Because even going back and playing at Easter Road in the league, it's been difficult. The easiest time was the last time because obviously there was no fans there. But no, I definitely agree with you. It's not something that I enjoy doing, playing against Hibs. So from a personal point of view and a selfish point of view, yes, St Johnstone would have been the team I picked just because I don't have any affiliation with them.
Well, listen, I'm so pleased for you personally, and I'm really excited for the club. It's fantastic because Livingston, when you look at the path that they've taken, it was a kind of meteoric rise through the divisions. I joined the club in 2001 when the team had been promoted to the Scottish Premier League, as it was back then, for the very first time. And in my first season with Livingston, we finished 3rd and qualified for Europe. We then played in European matches in FC Vaduz in Liechtenstein. We played against Sturm Graz in Austria and had a great time. And I said to the fans at the time, enjoy it, because, for clubs like Livingston, this doesn't happen every season. And there was some that kind of thought I was a bit of a killjoy. And then, of course, we in the League Cup in 2004, and it was just that the meteoric rise continued. And then fast forward 2 or 3 years, and the club was kind of relegated, and then it was going into administration again, and this club and the fans have really been through the mill. So it's very it's very exciting to be able to see the club back in the top division doing great things. I mean, I thought it was a fantastic achievement to finish 5th last season. I I think you've got every chance of being able to emulate that, possibly even better at this season. And you've got a cup final to look forward to. And whether you like it or not, Livingston are going to go into this game as favourites because, let's be honest, on current form, you absolutely deserve to be.
Yeah, and we spoke about that earlier. It's kind of a different pressure, but as we know in cup competitions, it's a one-off game. So, we'll go in with the mindset that there is no favourites. We've got both two evenly matched teams. Yes, we're on better form, but you look at the budgets and the probably season ticket holders and everything else, we're very evenly matched. So, it'll be that 100% thing again. Let's give 100% and see where it takes us. And if it manages to take us to win the cup, fantastic. And that's what we'll be trying to do.
Well, I guess the last question I would have for you, and I know you're going to try and play it, with a straight bat, but are you confident?
Yeah, with recent form, I'd have to be confident, but we must maintain that. We must maintain that. And as I keep on saying, as individuals, we're not the greatest of players, with all due respect, but as a team collectively, if we all give, everything we've got, then we're very, very difficult to beat. And we can't afford for 9 out of 11 of us to turn up. We need all 11 players because you're only as strong as your weakest player, and we know that. So if 11 of us turn up and we all give 100%, I think it will give us a fantastic chance of winning it. But that's not disrespecting St Johnstone because they're also a magnificent team. But we just need to outwork them, outfight them, and hopefully outscore them. And it will be fantastic. It'll be fantastic for me, and it's probably, like you said, going to be my last cup final anyway. So. I'll be giving it my all, and I think all the other players will be doing the same.
Well, listen, it goes without saying, I wish you the very best of luck in the final. I'm not surprised to hear you be humble and kind of talk about, your level and your teammates' level. I think you're actually underplaying, what a good side Livingston are. I mean, I've seen a lot of the team this season. Unrecognisable now from the team that I saw back in August and September and October when the team was struggling. But that was then, this is now. And, I know you can't be overly confident, but I think you've got a fantastic opportunity. And for you and for the teammates and for the coaching staff and for the club, I really hope you get the job done. Best of luck.
Cheers. Thank you. Appreciate it.